All right, we are going to start the business portion of the meeting with room dedication. So I'm going to turn it over here to our superintendent.
Okay, so are you going to call this meeting to order?
Okay, yeah. I call that to order. All right, so I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We're going to skip the Pledge of Allegiance. We did that already. And then we're going to start the presentation.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we're good.
Order, so we didn't forget about that. So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for those that are staying from the annual meeting. So this is also a very special night for us. We are going to take some time to dedicate this room that you're in this evening to Barb McKeefrey, our wonderful board member that we lost. So I'm going to read my words tonight, and I'm going to look at my paper because this has been an emotional time for me. Losing Barb, my staff knows that, so I need to stick to my script, as they will say. So tonight we gather to honor Barb as we dedicate this space, which will now officially be named the Barb McKeefrey Room. Barb's sudden passing has left us with heavy hearts, but also with a profound gratitude for her 30 years of dedicated service to our district. Barb was a humble and thoughtful leader who quietly but powerfully shaped our schools with her wisdom and compassion. This room, where tough decisions are made and where our teachers and administrators come together for professional development, it's a fitting tribute to Barb's legacy. She deeply believed in the value of giving students second, third, and fourth chances to do their best. Her vision and commitment to student success will continue to inspire the work that is done here. I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Barb's family, those of them that are here tonight, her husband Charlie, her daughter Kristen, her son Greg, granddaughters Bailey and Brooklyn. We're grateful for all Barb has done for our community, and we thank you for sharing her with us all these years. Additionally, I would like to do a special thank you to Barb's niece, Lindsay, who's here with us tonight, for creating the beautiful design for the plaque. And as Lindsay explained it to me, those of you who don't know, Barb loved flowers and gardening, and each of the flowers on the plaque were a pick from family members to signify something special about Barb. May the Barb McKeefrey Room stand as a lasting reminder of her humility, thoughtfulness, and enduring belief in every child's potential. We thank you, Barb, for your remarkable leadership, and we thank you to the family for joining us in celebrating her extraordinary legacy. At this time, I do have Dan Rossmiller here from WASB, and he'd like to say a short words and present a plaque.
Well, thank you, Allison. I am the executive director of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. We represent all of the locally elected school boards in the state. There are 421 school boards and about 2,800 school board members. As I reflect upon Barb's 30 years of service, one of the extraordinary things I think about is just how rare that is becoming in our world today. About half of the members of boards in our association have served less than a full 3-year term. So that means that half my members have another 27 years at least to go before they reach Barb's milestone. That's a tremendous amount of dedication. That's a tremendous commitment to the community, to the families and children of this district. When you think about it, that I want to thank the family members for allowing her to, giving us that time from her. When I think about it, there are 12 school board meetings a year. There's the annual meeting. You add it all up, that amounts to about a year's worth of days when there's a school board meeting. And that's a tremendous amount of time that Barb was away from you and doing school board work, but I know she loved it. I know that she had a tremendous heart for service. I didn't know her. I can't claim to have known her well, but I feel kind of like I know her because she reminds me so much of my own family. My wife is a gardener. My wife was a florist, had her own business. My father-in-law was a He was a Mopar guy, restored cars, had to be Hemis, went to all the car shows, was involved in the speedways around Watoma where he lived. So I feel certainly that Barb was a true representation of Wisconsin and all the things that are good about our state and all the things that we're proud of. I think you could be very proud of her 30 years of service, and I want you to know how much we value that. These can be kind of bittersweet occasions, but knowing how much she loved the community and the schools and the children and how much she cared to see them succeed, I think it's a night when we can look back and be very, very proud of her legacy. So with that, thank you.
And then at this time, we also have Jennifer Schwartz, our school board president, who's going to read a memoriam that was sent from Governor Evers.
So, honoring Barbara Jean McKeefrey. Whereas Barbara Jean McKeefrey, beloved wife, mother, grandmother, sister, community leader, and friend to many, passed away on July 27, 2024, at the age of 71. And whereas born to Gordon and Marjorie Ainsworth, Barbara graduated from Pulaski High School and was a lifelong resident of the greater Pulaski community. Whereas a woman of many talents and profound business acumen, Barbara spent her life as a manager and entrepreneur and owned her own greenhouse, Barb's Bloomers, in addition to a consignment store in Bondwell. And whereas an active leader in her community, Barbara was a member of multiple boards and organizations, including the Pulaski School Board for 30 years and Shawano County 4-H organization, and was actively involved with the Town of Angelica Elections and Zoning Committee, the Shawano County Fair and Speedway, and the Pulaski and Shawano Chambers of Commerce. And whereas Barbara will be remembered for her dedication to her family, her passion for bowling and gardening, and for the countless contributions she made to education, the school board, and the greater community, for which she admirably served. And whereas Barbara was preceded in death by her parents' sister Connie, and in-laws Cyril and Inez, and she is survived by her husband Charles, children Kristen and Gregory, grandchildren Brooklyn and Bailey, sisters Deborah, Sandra, Terry, and Diane, along with an abundance of family, friends, colleagues, and community members who will all miss her dearly. And therefore I, Tony Evers, Governor of the state of Wisconsin, do hereby send my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Barbara Jean McKeefrey. She will not be forgotten and she will be missed. Signed on this day, the 16th of August.
At this time, if anyone in the family would like to say a few words, you certainly don't have to, but we're more than happy to have you speak on behalf of mom, grandma, wife, sister. And I can if you want me to.
I just want to let you know, nobody allowed Barb to do anything.
Right? She just did it. No, Mom loved being on the school board, and thank you guys for everybody's impact you had on her and allowing her to be a part of this great organization and school district. So, thank you.
All right, so at this time, I would like to take another short recess so we can help the family gather things. I want to let you know that the sign this is in a draft mode. We will have the real sign will be here a little bit later on next week to put out right outside our door. And the 2 plaques obviously we'll want to send home with the family. So be able to see that and visit that. And I think, Eric, if you wouldn't mind, we could get a couple pictures, that would be nice as well. So we'll just take another 5 to 7 minute recess and then we'll get our business meeting going. Thank you so much.
the meeting back to order. We're gonna pick up where we left off, and that would be citizens forum. We didn't have anybody signed up for citizens forum. So then we move on to the consent agenda. I hereby move to adopt the consent agenda. Hearing no objections, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent.
Donna raised her hand for citizen forum.
Oh, okay,
I know.
okay, go ahead.
I had signed up to just make a comment.
Sure.
If I could, Donna Severson, 362 Cross Point Court. Just want to comment on the annual meeting and the discussion about asking for information. And I know Mark had said that he replied and said that it didn't have the information. But I just want to give you an example. One of the things that I had asked, it was a year or so ago, about the pool and the number of employees. It took less than 10 seconds to point across the room and have someone answer the question that there were about 20 part-time lifeguards. And with a budget this size, I don't think it's a good answer to give that we don't have the data. Because in that case, somebody is punching a time clock, they're getting paid, it's coming out of our tax levy. Somebody has to have the information. To say that, well, we don't have that information is not a good answer. So especially for some of the rather simple questions that get asked. And again, an example was right in that meeting, we were able to resolve one of my questions right there. It was that simple. So I just want to comment that I don't think it's a good answer for the district to give that, well, we just don't have that information. Because the other thing too is I think even charging for, like in the policy, whether it be photocopying, the residents and taxpayers in this district have already paid for everything in these buildings, the copiers, every ream of paper, the time for the employees, and not that we'd ever want to just waste somebody's time on our questions, but we've really already made an investment in that. So I guess I'm just a little taken aback by the response that I get when I've asked a question. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Donna. All right, then we'll go over to superintendent update.
Okay, just a couple updates. I'm just reading over my notes. I'm sorry, I just had to make sure you're not forgetting anything up. So family engagement nights, we've had 2 so far. We've had one at the middle school and one at the high school. Last night's family engagement night at the high school was interrupted for a little bit as we had a fire drill there, or it wasn't a fire, but it wasn't a drill, I guess. It was just an alarm went off. So that one maybe was a little bit more in upheaval, but we did have a successful family engagement night at the middle school, helping our new kids that are coming in at the 6th grade level, and then they did a great job of having our specialist teachers set up in the gym, so and kind of showcase some of the things that they're doing and were available. So if any of you as board members were able to take part in that, that event was well received, and I feel like we know, we're getting some good feedback on how can we get more there. We always want more families to be engaged. The family engagement nights really came about out of our strategic planning work that we did through the pillars, and on those nights when we held the Envision Our Future night, that was a discussion and a conversation in the big group, as well as when we went into our smaller groups about engaging our families, not just around athletic events or concerts and plays and those sorts of things, but how are we engaging? Parents were asking for more information, especially at that 6-12 band area of how do we connect with our kids and how do we learn more about the learning that's happening in the district. So we're working on that. We already know now we can reflect on the 2 nights that we've had at the middle and at the high school level, and we're planning on making those better. And then the elementaries are taking place a little bit in the beginning part of October, so around October 10th. And are they all in the same evening?
Yes.
Okay, so all family engagement for elementary schools will be on October 10th. As we're moving into the school year now, we're in our 4th week. We, as you know, as one of our safety measures, we did place Raptor visitor management system into all of our buildings, and we're getting good feedback on that. We haven't had any real snafus with working the system. People seem to respect it. They seem to understand what they need to do. Our secretaries have, ask questions, they continue to ask questions, we continue to work through things. And the biggest piece about Raptor, I guess I will say, is that it's not the answer to bringing people into the building, it's just another checkpoint. And it's also helps us, like the title says, manage who's in our building. So we always know when they're checking in, they're checking out, are they still here, are they not still here? And it's also a great way for us to enhance what we're already doing in the district. So we still use all of our information that we have on hand. So if a parent is here and something comes up and we're not quite sure, if we don't have all of that loaded in Raptor, for example, we still have all of our other student information system that's available to us. And so we're checking on those pieces all the time. And so Raptor seems to be going quite well. There's been some conversation in the area, especially in light of the continued school shootings that are happening across the nation, of using more of like a I know Green Bay Public Schools uses the actual GPS alerts that are on tags, on staff tags within the building. I just received something today. Now Raptor must be on this, so I think companies will be on this. I think Raptor may end up having something, like this as well. So we're having conversations as Brown County superintendents around that. Feedback that I received yesterday was Green Bay loves it, but they are massively huge. I don't know what that looks like in a district our size, and I've also heard through rumblings that we are looking at, hopefully the state is looking at putting more money back into opening up school safety and having more money put back into that area in the state budget. So as I'm meeting and hearing more, I'll keep you up to date on that. If funds come through, we will be on top of it. That would be something that we would be interested in, I think, especially if it was something that came within the Raptor suite, and it coincided with what we did, and we could of course have resources or funds from the Department of Safety that would support that. So just something to come. I'll keep you updated if I hear any other news about it, but that might be not for 6 months. You just don't know when that update would come. One of the other things too, I just want to talk a little bit about is that we will be having 3 safety weeks this year, specific to tying that one out in a communication to all families. Our first one is coming up here in the end of September, and each of the safety weeks will have a little bit of a focus to them. This first one that's coming up will be centered around a lockdown, more of our imminent threat lockdown, and we'll talk to students about barricade. All of that information then will be available. We're trying to put more information on our website so that parents have a better understanding, so they can have conversations with their kids when they come home at night after they've practiced drills or we're talking about them at school. And then I just wanted to let all board members know that we have created, Eric has done a really great job of creating kind of a universal newsletter that has been launched for all of our elementary schools, and those are coming out at certain times. I'll just bring notice to the annual meeting budget booklet tonight. I mean, it's beautiful. It's very easy for us to read. There's great information in it. Some of those things just help us move things along and have resources and information for families in a more readily available way, as well as the district newsletter that went out to all families this year at the beginning of the school year. So we're working on that communication being a little bit more intentional, and across the board, all families are getting that same information, especially at the elementary level where we have 5 schools. We don't have to worry about that when we've got 1 middle school and 1 high school, but the elementary schools, sometimes it feels like, why is that school doing that and this school's not doing that? And so we thought, well, this is a good way to get that information out in a timely manner as well. And then of course there's just a ton of activities in the district. Last night I was able to hit 5 different things, and I know that sounds like but it's nice for me to be out and about, but when I can find an evening where I can touch base with that many teams, that many coaches, that many staff members, that many families, it's just walk around on any of these Tuesday or Thursday nights and you're going to be able to see a multitude of things happening here in the district. So great evening, great things are happening with our athletics and our activities, so kudos to that department and keeping things going. It's really been a great start to the school year. First 4 weeks are flowing well. So. That's all I have.
Good, thank you. Personnel update, Ally?
Alright, so we have 1 hire, 2 transfers, and 2 resignations. We welcome Stephanie. She'll be starting training here at the beginning of October. The 2 transfers are half transfers. They're already in one building, so now they'll be splitting their time. And then we wish Michelle luck on her next adventure.
And you as well.
And you as well. All right, motion on that.
Motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or conversation? Great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ally.
Thank you.
August budget, Mark?
Nothing other than what's in the memo. We have direction from the community tonight to move forward for the next month. And then I'll share any changes based on count and those October adjustments next business meeting.
All right, any questions for Mark on the memo, checks, anything? All right, very good, thank you, Mark. Then we get to move into our field trips. We are gonna start with FFA.
I'm Miss Barron. I'm new here to Pulaski, but this is my first year teaching. National FA Convention is coming up in October 22nd through the 26th. It's in Indianapolis, Indiana. Pulaski has 6 seats on a coach bus that we share with Seymour, Bayport, Hartford, and Southern Door. We'll have 6 total seats. 1 of them will be an advisor seat, and then 5 will be for FA members. They're chosen through an application process, so we get the students that should go on that trip. We would leave Tuesday morning and then arrive back here later Saturday afternoon. On our way down, we'll take some industry tours, including Humble Livestock, Reproduction Specialty Group, and then an exotic feline rescue to give students kind of a broad perspective of agriculture, kind of on our way down. And then cost is roughly $400 per student. If students can't pay for it or need some assistance, we have a FA account that we could kind of utilize, as well as the FA alumni is open to helping students out with that as well. They sometimes sponsor meals as we're down there as well. And then that cost includes the bus seat, the shared hotel rooms, ticket for nighttime events, and then a t-shirt and all tour costs, as well as convention registration.
Excellent. Any questions?
I move to approve the FFA trip to Indianapolis as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. All right, marching band to Mackinac Island.
Hello, thanks for taking some time to hear about our trip. We're looking to return to a trip that has been part of our past, which is a trip up to Mackinac Island. There's a Lilac Festival there in June over Father's Day weekend, and it's just absolutely idyllic. It's beautiful and it smells amazing on the island. And there's a nice parade there. So the overall overview of the trip, it takes place from Saturday, June 14th through Monday the 16th. So we depart Pulaski on Saturday the 14th for St. Ignace. We stay the night there in St. Ignace, and then we'd have a little bit of downtime there to have dinner in St. Ignace, and we'd have an overnight stay. The next morning we'd ferry over to Mackinac Island, and we'd spend the major part of the day there to sightsee. We have the parade that day that we would march, and then we'd stay the night at the Grand Hotel there on Mackinac Island. Then we have a short performance, an outdoor performance there as well at the foot of the hotel. It's pretty cool. And then the next morning we'd wake, and the kids would have another nice chunk of time to spend on the island and shop and eat and buy fudge and all the wonderful things that are there. And we'd leave early afternoon to head back to Pulaski with arrival around 6 or 7 p.m., sort of at dinner time. As far as costs go, the last time we went was 2018, and it was $300, about $100 a day. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, and we expect prices to go up. There's a few things still falling into place. I would say probably doubleage in cost, about $200 a day, I would say. but, you know, there's, like I said, there's still some things falling in place with that. I know that if finances are ever a concern for students, we do have a booster organization that helps out. There are multiple fundraising opportunities for students throughout the year provided by boosters, and we do an in-school fundraiser as well. So much more smaller scale and much more affordable trip than the last one we took to Pasadena. So I'd be open to any questions or things that you have.
And is this just the marching band, or are you combining the choir as well? Like you
That's a
did?
great question, actually. So in talking as a team, Mrs. Brown has made the decision, we all have made the decision collectively to do 2 smaller separate trips. So Mrs. Brown is planning on taking the choir to Chicago over spring break. And
Oh, yeah, she was
that's already in progress, I think. So this is kind of the yin for the yang, which is we're going to plan to go to Mackinac.
Great, thank you.
Okay, motion to approve the PHS marching band trip to Mackinac Island.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Have fun.
All right. And of course, Great America. Who's doing that one?
I don't think Jill is here. Brenda?
Do you want me to talk
Can
about
you
it?
share?
Sure, yeah. So each year our 8th grade get an opportunity to go to Great America for the day. It's just a 1-day trip, but it's out of state to Illinois. So it's a great day for kind of culmination for their 8th grade.
And this does have a cost to the students, right?
It does, but we try to keep it at a minimal cost. I don't know that I have the actual dollar amount, I'm sorry.
Says
This is
$100.
There you go.
And what's the demand if we have students who can't pay the $100?
Yeah, we certainly have an account for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the 8th grade Great America trip.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Brenda.
Yep.
All right. And then we are on to our HR data.
All right. All right, so tonight we'll be reviewing our HR data within the district. I want to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see before we dive into it. So one incredible thing within the Pulaski Community School District is all of our staff here are our actual employees. So when it comes to facilities, food service, transportation, substitutes, they're all district employees versus contracted services. So when we're looking at this data, you're going to see it as a whole. I want to also point out that casual employees are not included in this data. So pool personnel, student employees, and then substitutes, they work as needed, part-time, and many of our pool personnel are also students, so they are not included in this data tonight. All right, so it's all about the people. Whether they are working in classrooms with our kiddos, whether they are providing breakfast and lunch services, transporting to and from school, or staff working in collaboration hand in hand with each other. This all feeds into what we're going to talk about. So this will ground us throughout our conversations today. So the first data point we'll look at is longevity and tenure. So this is the average years of service within PCSD. So again, not total years of service in a career or in teaching. This is all staff, average years within the district. So you can see that the district, over the last 2 years, we've been at 9.23 and 9.38 years of service, which is quite a bit above both the national and state average. So national average is just over 4 years, and the state average is about 6.8 years.
And that's,
Go ahead.
that's at their current employer?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When you guys put this chart together, did you look at it by building? I know we've been struggling with biology teaching, right? So do we look at disciplines to see if?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. So we can break down the data in many different ways. One of the ways that we really did is with the current staff survey data. That's how we're breaking it down. But yes, we break it down by employee type,
Okay.
building, things like that. So one of the things that we really focus on as far as longevity goes is we're looking at that staff survey to see what we're doing well and why people want to stay here. We want to continue those things if we're hearing good feedback about that. Turnover. So we'll talk about our turnover overview, which turnover is, the formula is number of resignations and retirements divided by the average number of employees times 100. So we have 3 different data sets here over 4 years. So we have the national average in black, the state average in blue, and PCSD in red. So you can see we are well below the national average. 1 year we're right close to the state average, but otherwise we are below. So DPI and Wisconsin Forum is the reference or the resource, I should say, for the state. And then we work with, or we use Department of Ed as a resource, and they get their statistical data from education resource strategies. So the average, I'll just say the rolling average over those 4 years, the national is at 23% and the state is hovering at 16%. We'll go into our individual years. So you can see it has ebbed and flowed over the last 4 years at a local level, going from 8.7 to 13.39. That is the 1 year that we're over the state average. And then we go back down to 12.03 and 8.56%.
But this is an aggregate of all employees, right?
That is correct.
Can we get the data on teachers versus other staff functions to kind of see the difference?
So we look at that as far as the survey data to help decipher. When we have this much data, we can pull it apart in a million different ways. So when we look at it, we want to make sure that we're pulling it apart and it's adding value, and we're not seeing the same things over and over again.
No, but my question is, can we get that information? Can we as a board get the breakdown of how teachers fare against custodians versus this? Can we get the more granular information presented in a chart?
It would depend if I can get that done in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. It'd just be helpful so we can see like the movement in the district. So we know we've had teacher turnover, right, over the last couple of years, just to see where the movement is. Because right now this is just an aggregate to me, so it doesn't tell me a whole lot.
Well, I am hopeful that the next couple of slides will tell you a little bit more. We're going to ground much of that into our staff data as well that we saw at a couple board meetings ago. One of the things with this is a very manual process, so we can, certainly, I can try to get you what you need, but it's just a matter of time too. There's a lot of time put into this, so I'll do my best and see what I can do in the next 2 weeks, Steve. All right. So diving a little bit deeper into the turnover data, we look at 4 different buckets. I'm sorry, I meant to mention that the rolling average over the last 4 years is at 11% locally. All right, so when we dive into the turnover data, we have 4 buckets. We have retirement, leaving education, different district and competitor, or other category. So when we look at retirees, they hit an age and they want to retire. That's what we call uncontrollable. Also, those leaving education, whether they're working here or the Green Bay Area Public School District or in Florida, if they want out of education or if they want a career change, again, that's one of those uncontrollable. And then the other category is broken down, or in the other category of other, it's individuals who are relocating, such as out of the state. They're advancing their career, they're advancing their education, or it's a family and or medical health related. So again, within those, if someone is moving out of state, we're not going to be able to control and really break down into that data to help decipher how we could retain them here in the district. So the one bucket that we really are going to dive a little bit deeper in the next few slides is the different district and competitor. And why we put competitor in there is because, again, it's all of our staff. So, if they're here at our transportation, they may want to go work at a different transportation company.
So is this 100% representation? I know in a previous meeting we talked about the exit interviews and some do, some don't. That's not derived from that, right? This is
100%. Okay. So this is 100% of the information. Some of the information that we'll see further on the slides are from exit interviews, but much of this now that we have the staff exit survey, you'll see a little bit more of that data as well. Good question. So when we look at those controllables, our range goes from 7% to 22% of our overall of our overall turnover. So this past year, our turnover at the district local level was 8.56%. So when we break this down and we go further, we're going to be talking about of that 8.56% turnover. All right, so diving a little bit deeper into this, we're going to talk about the focus areas. So again, those controllables versus the uncontrollables. So when we look at this, we're looking at the individuals who left the district that we feel that we, looking at data that we could control, we could do a better job at retaining our staff. So we're looking at that resigning to work in a different district, local district, or competitor. If someone's moving across the state, again, that's not part of that data, that's out of our radius. So the different factors from the school perceptions exit survey, I want to note that this does not add up to 100% because some people can select, some people did select multiple reasons. So you might leave for 2 or 3 reasons, so this will be over 100% here. So of the 22% of people that were controllable within the 8.5% of our overall turnover, 15% of those people left due to compensation. 15% was due to lack of growth or advancement opportunities. 25% was need for a better work-life balance. 25% was poor student discipline. And then there's also a 35% to move closer to family, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So again, I want to talk about it because it's confusing. So our overall turnover, 8.56%.
Can you put a number on that though? The 8.5% can be misleading. So what's the number of people we're talking?
So this past year, so 23-24 was 50 employees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, 50 employees.
And that's what this information is based off of?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so when we look at that 35% to move closer to family, it is within a radius, it's within driving distance of the district where we could potentially have retained them. But there are people within this bucket that they might live in De Pere, so they want to work in De Pere. Maybe their kids go to Howard Swamico, so they want to be on the same schedule as Howard Swamico. Maybe it's I graduated from Green Bay and I want to go back to Green Bay. So Steve, you asked a great question a few months ago at a board meeting. And you asked the number of individuals leaving in between that 1 to 3 year range. We see a lot, and actually it's 50 to 60% of our overall turnover is from the 1 to 3 year range. And what we're seeing oftentimes is they're moving to go back where they graduated from or closer to home. So coming out of college oftentimes, they may want to work in a district, but they don't get a job in their desired district that first year. So maybe 3-4 years down the line, now they have an opportunity to go back. So it's 50 to 60% that we're seeing are going back to, again, that hometown within driving distance, same district as their kids or their family goes. So we do include that in our controllable, but know that there may be some ambiguity there as well.
Have we ever thought about, so now we're doing the exit interview, right? And we did the other school perception survey earlier this year. Have we thought about finding a sweet spot to survey new people in the district to maybe catch some of these things, like before they make a decision to jump ship?
Jenny, do you want to talk about, and that's only from a teacher perspective, but how, and do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So actually the national average, because when we write our peer review mentoring grant, we put those statistics in. So national average is that within 5 years, 55 to 60% of teachers will actually leave the profession. So even when I look at this of, 35% are moving, or, it's 50 to 60% of our 1 to 3 year teachers, they're at least staying in education. They just might be moving to a different location. So I think that's a positive, that we're not losing them from teaching. We have a mentoring program, which I think I talked a little bit about when we did the professional development. And so, our first year teachers have a mentor. The mentor might serve 4 people. We have sessions where they come and they like this next upcoming week will be all on educator effectiveness to get them prepared and ready. They'll be on being prepared for parent-teacher conferences. There's some on instructional design and assessment. There's a technology one, and so we use the information that we get from not only our mentors but our new teachers. So we survey them at the end of each of those sessions to get feedback. We survey them at the end of the whole program. We did after orientation as well to find out what they need more of, what they need support of. And then that also helps us to design what happens the next year. But then year 2 and 3, and that's why we get the peer review mentoring grant, is because DPI really wants us to focus on how do you keep people in the profession. And so we continue with our mentoring program. We design some things differently, like in year 3 they get to shadow a student, which they love because now they're looking at it through that lens. Year 2 they do like an ed camp, World Cafe, where it's the topics that they need. So if it's on behavior and discipline, they're going to tell us that ahead of time. We're going to ensure that we have people in to help and support that. So it's really driven by their needs and what they need in order to make that happen. And so it's a combination of new teachers and mentors sharing that with us.
Okay. Did the school perception survey ask them their tenure when that survey came out? We have a teacher sitting in front of us here.
So.
Because then you could extract that out of school perceptions, like you're asking for where they're at, how they feel. I would guess that you could extract that out of what we have with school perceptions and see that subgroup of, they've been here, 1 to 3 years, and kind of look at it that way. Or maybe that's something, school perceptions, if you guys thought there would be value in it, something we could get just to get a feel for that grouping.
When I guess this is something I kind of looked at as when we talk about lack of growth and advancement opportunities. What kind of example to say educators, teachers provide for that? Does anybody ever delve into that a little bit deeper? Mm-hmm. I mean, because I guess I look at the the foundation and how a school is put together, and I'm just curious on what they're looking for that isn't provided.
Sure. That's a great segue into our next, actually 2 slides from here. So I will, so you might ask, are we unique here in Pulaski? Are people leaving for the same reasons that they're leaving other employers? And we have very common themes. So these are the top 3 reasons across the country that people are leaving their employers: lack of career opportunities and development, health, family issues, and work-life imbalance. So to dive a little bit deeper into your question, Josh, here as well. Maybe it's on the next slide. So a little bit more about the data. So we want to celebrate a few things. Again, that we have all of our employees here. We have our food service, our facilities, our transportation, our substitutes. We have above average longevity, below average turnover, and we're trending downward on employees leaving education. And really that's a celebration not only here at the local level, but state and national level as well. One thing is, how are we attracting and retaining staff? What are we currently doing? What are we hearing from staff? So on the compensation satisfaction survey, the satisfaction survey, compensation was rated well among staff in comparisons with other districts. It was still on our bottom 5, interestingly enough, but it still rated well in comparison to other districts. Our improved benefit offerings and costs, thankfully due to the operational referendum. And then also when we look at retention here in the district, we've heard this from staff over the last few years. Our substitute fill rate here is 92%, which means if we have 100 staff out on a given day, we have 92 subs filling in, and that's extremely high. The average is 76. So that, I think, is a testament to our district and our kiddos, and how incredible they are and how subs want to be here in the district. But also that helps retain teachers because they're not constantly feeling the stress and the filling in for staff as well. All right, now here we are, Josh, sorry about that. So what is an area of focus? We have quite a few, but continuing to decrease turnover will continue to be an area of focus. One thing to your question, Josh, is Aspiring Leader Program. So this is something that we are more formally putting together. We've had opportunities within the district for years, so there have been professional development, at a state or local level. There's been opportunities to shadow or do practicum experiences. There may be situations where principals are out on a given day, so someone who either is looking to go be a principal, they might step in and act as the principal that day. What else am I missing?
Like I'll give an example today. Amy and I were meeting to talk about our Future Ready committee that would be coming together, and we were looking for some more 612 staff members, and then right away we were generating, okay, this person has shown interest in administration, this would be a great committee for them to be in. And so I think we came up with 4 or 5 people that we're going to approach personally and say, we'd love to have you on this committee and represent 612, so.
I think some of that could also possibly be reflected in, this is part of that controllable and uncontrollable. Sometimes people leave education because there is advancement, having a bachelor's degree or a master's degree as an educator, and they can go into the private world now, and a teacher is so well trained, they're a wealth of knowledge. They know how to work with groups of people, right? They've got 20 to 30 in front of them every day, and they're able to have careers in other areas besides education and make more money. I mean, it does come down to that. There is part of that. So we've had people that have left us, and they've, if they're a biology, we're talking across the state. That's kind of a scarcity spot right now. Biology is, for some reason, that's like hit a pocket. But they can work in a lab. They can be in our national parks. There are other things that our teachers are afforded to do with their degrees, and many of them have masters in it. So that's also part of it. I think sometimes that may be clicked as multiple reasons, and that would be a career advancement or a different line that's still utilizing their degree.
So as we're building Aspiring Leader program in a more formal setting, we'll be giving further updates on that. But we want to continue to work on those growth opportunities, so staff do feel like there are opportunities within the district. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as the discipline and behavior, we saw that as one of the reasons as well. So offering, which we currently have offered actually in the last couple months here within the district, offering professional learning from Behavior Solutions and PLC. And then also continuing staff feedback through envisioning our future work. So the nice thing with the data that we're seeing within our exit interviews, within our staff survey data, and then also our exit interview data, is that all of this is aligning, and they're things that we're aware of and that we're currently working on. Nothing right now is a surprise. They're things that are our big rocks here in the district.
Well, that begs a question. So July 17th, we reviewed the survey data here in the boardroom. And I know I specifically as a board member have asked for the comments on the survey. So when can we get the comments from the survey for the staff and the parents provided to the board? So we can connect the dots just as you're connecting the dots. I've grown up trust but verify. And as a board member, we have rights to that data. It doesn't challenge confidentiality because we still don't know who said it. And it can be redacted or we can go to closed session. But I've asked repeatedly and it's been gone unanswered.
I guess I would challenge the value add of what comments would bring, as opposed to what the information that's been given to you by building. And it's, we know that the top 5 and the bottom 5 of each of those areas, that's what we're working on, and that's what's in the plan. So when you give out comments, and this was School Perception had talked with us about this, that releasing comments, the survey was spoken as confidential, and you're right, Steve, you could, but then redaction of a document, it still would be specific enough that you would figure it out, for lack of a better way of saying it. So then if you're giving out that information, then if we have to redact it, we'd have to redact it in such that what would you end up seeing if we deem it that would be discoverable about who or what the comment or what the comment was made about. So I guess really what would, at this point in time, the comments, are not going to add any value to the top 5 and the bottom 5, which we're already aligning and working forward in the school improvement plans at building level and district level. I mean, it was clear, right? If there's a problem with behavior in our building, and we're seeing that that's coming through exit interviews, and it came through loud and clear in our survey from parents and from staff, that was a definite district goal that surfaced like immediate. And we were on top of training, we were on top of getting the professional development, we're on top of working on all of those things in the building. So I guess I don't see what the value add would be.
That's your perspective though, so I think the board does have value. Again, we don't hold disciplinary power over staff or parents, so us getting access to the data.
So then that would be another reason as then what would the value
So we can
of that
connect the
be?
dots on all of this stuff. You keep saying we, and I understand the we part, but I think the board has the right to see the information that they supported in the survey. I think parents expected that, I think staff expected that.
Well, what do we need to see that they already have not put into action is my question. What are you gonna come up with that these professionals that work with the staff every day haven't already come up with? And then also, we promised our staff that this was confidential, and that is a promise I truly wanna keep because I want to keep getting good survey results based on our trust with the staff and to answer truthfully.
Confidentiality is based on who answered the questions though, not what they answered.
I think that is maybe a different perspective. I know as a community member, when I took the survey, I knew that we represented as a school board that it would be confidential, that it would not be shared. I took that at face value. I trust that my comments are being considered and are being addressed. Next time, if I'm being told that that information is being shared, I may not be as forthcoming and honest because I may not want to expose myself and have that be something that now is out there. And I think that other maybe staff and parents would have the same viewpoint. And then what is the value of the surveys that we're sending out?
We should ask them. So my question is
Or we
this, so
could
if
ask
the
the
comments,
board.
if the comments
Wait on it.
didn't go to anybody, then why leave comments anyways? That's my question. Somebody read the comments.
But the comments did go to the professionals that are actually creating the plans and working with the staff in
So then
all
they're
of
not
the
confidential.
buildings.
If staff saw them, but the board can't see them, that's not
Staff
confidential.
did not see them.
I'm just saying that, that's fine.
There was an assumption by a lot of people that took that survey that the board would have access to any information that was on the survey. There wasn't
We had to go back to school perceptions actually 3 times to get information because what they originally gave us was a one-pager that what was afforded to the board here was very different than what they do in other school districts. So we actually had to matriculate and create information for this board three different ways and to give you more information than usually what is necessary. So I guess I will just say that from our perspective, from employee being an employee of the district and the employees that work here, it was very clear that this was going to be a confidential survey that people could take without information going anywhere. To be honest with you, the comments did not change what you saw in front of you for anything that we're doing. It was blatant. The top 5 and the bottom 5 were very easy for us to focus on in our improvement plans. So
Allison, you saw the comments.
One thing from a correct.
So that's my point. If then they're not confidential. It's
thing
either one can see them or nobody sees them. That's the part I'm confused. Because I agree with Dennis. From feedback I've received, parents expected their comments. That's why they wrote them. The questions that we saw with highly whatever or not likely whatever, those are summaries. I do this stuff at work. I see these surveys, and as a leader, I see the comments boiled up, right? If there's less than 5, the same rules apply, so we can't figure things out. But employees put comments because they want somebody to read them. And my point is, and you can say no, but I'm just asking the question, if you can see the comments, then why can't the board see the comments? That's all I'm asking.
One of the piece with comments is it's not a data point because you didn't ask everybody this comment. So if I made one comment, we didn't re-survey and go around to staff and say, do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree? So you have to take that comment at face value because there's not further data behind that comment as well.
But everybody had a chance to leave comments.
Correct.
The comments, in my opinion, Allie, and again, I don't know what people think like I'm after here, other than we go back to the numbers, and I keep saying, like, everything is aggregated up to the point it's hard to figure out, like, and when I say something's going on, I don't mean negative, but like what's going on. So if we wonder why 50% of 1 to 3 year teachers are leaving, and we say we have the data and we're connecting dots, why can't we see that? That doesn't mean we're going to change anything, but at least it answers the question.
I guess, Steve, I'm confused though. When we're showing you this data and you're seeing that we're below the state average, we're below the national average, we're working on retention, we have plans in place for retention and recruitment of staff, we have mentoring programs put together, we're talking with our staff constantly. I'm uncertain at this point in time what, let's say we pull the data apart, and so out of Allie's 50, do you know how many of that are professional staff?
I would be able to grab it, but I would need a few moments.
So let's just say 25 of them, let's say half of them are teachers, okay, or professional staff that have left us. Out of that 25, if in that 25 there's another 20% that is out of our control of leaving, I'm not certain what else we could put in place right now in a public school that we're not doing.
Then help us help you.
But
Let us
but then tell us, Steve, what is it that you want me to put in place at this point that I am not already trying for recruitment, and we're not in dire need?
Comments. I think the board has the right to see the comments.
I think there are a couple other things within here. So 25 are professional staff, 25 support staff of this year's data. I think a couple things. So I think one of my wonderings would be, we have roles and responsibilities within the district as administrators, as teachers, as support staff, and as board. And that's what you entrust us to do, is dig deeper into that data and make those determinations, because we're professionals in our field and that's what you hired us to do. So it goes back to one member role on the board versus administration, teachers, again, our role as a professional.
This is data, though. I'm not asking to get involved in anything.
I think also what you things is you just said
we can continue.
That's what you just said you wanted to do. You just said you wanted to read the comments so you can get involved. Now you just said you don't want to get involved. So what are you trying to do here?
One of the things too is we can dig and dig and dig, and it may not add value. So we want to dig into the areas that we are finding issue with, and that we need to dig deeper to see what the issue is and how we can resolve it, and we're doing that. But to be able to pull apart the data, we could spend, that could be a full-time job, just pulling that apart and figuring out solutions behind that data. But the question is that adding value? So we do that to the extent that it adds value.
I'll take, just for example, the Aspiring Leader program that we're putting in place, which has been something that I have wanted to talk about since I came here in the district, knowing the depth and of knowledge that we hold here, also knowing that as administration leaves and positions are in play, how wonderful it would be to have our trained professionals who have been working in all of our professional learning be able to take that next step. That's always been something that I thought was very important that we do. It also is a great recruitment and retention tool. If we have people that want to take that opportunity and do it. Now, we are going to launch this hopefully in October, and when this is launched, it doesn't take out, someone may say, I really don't have time to do that, but I'm still doing all of these wonderful leadership things in the district, and we're still going to say when a position comes open, yes, apply. It doesn't mean that they're not allowed to apply or they have to do this. So I guess the point of me telling you this is that no matter what or how we land opportunities and we offer things out, it still lands with the person to say, yes, it's a good time for me to take this opportunity, or not right now. And we don't have any control over that. That isn't something that I can change for them. So, you know, we are looking for ways. We are talking with employees. I am in buildings daily. I'm visiting with people, wanting to know, taking feedback. And I sometimes feel like, Steve, you are placing a perception on me and my team that we are not being good listeners of our staff, or we are not open to different things that we can do here in the district to retain. And we are just in a different time right now in public education. And I would, you know, ask you to take notes on other school districts in our area and talk to them about, are you doing all of these things for your teachers right now in the district? Are you building all of these programs? Are you questioning and talking about how you're retaining? How many people did you lose? How many people, were you fully staffed this year when you went back to school? Those are questions that are important for you to know, that we are passionately working on that on a daily basis. When I lose a staff member, it hurts. Personally, I know, I don't want them to go. I usually am reaching out and like, what's going on? What happened there? What's in that building? I was just there. How come that's, you know, it just happened at our middle school. Michelle Weed was on our list tonight, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did Michelle leave us? I love Michelle. I love being in her classroom. It was amazing, everything she did. And Michelle's leaving because schedules, alignment, wanting to teach high school again. Those are factors that we couldn't give her that opportunity. I couldn't say, she wants to teach high school and now I need to move her to a high school spot. I don't have that luxury. Sometimes the worlds align.
So the survey is connected to the percentages that we saw. They rated the board, they rated staff, they rated everybody. That's what the comments are connected to. I'm not sure what you're talking about, leadership and all that stuff. I never said that.
Because it's a retention tool, and I feel like you're saying
The survey is a retention tool?
No, us building any kind of program here is to work on how are we going to retain staff. Since you've come on the board, you've talked about how are you retaining staff? Why are these numbers so high? Why are we not able to keep our people? And you've said that to me on many occasions, like it's a blaming tool. This is not a blaming tool. This is public education, and this is very difficult work.
You should look back to the previous board meeting before I was on the board, and you'll see the same questions were asked.
And
okay?
We've also seen a whole lot of pivot. Like, we have seen them do some pretty incredible things.
I didn't say they didn't. All I asked is if we were going to get the comments. If the answer is no, then the answer is no. My question's been answered.
Perfect. I don't have to hear about it anymore. Okay.
All right, so some other celebrations within the past and continued work. So one of the things that was incredible this last year was during the hiring process, we were competitive with both salaries, wages, and benefits. And that's been a long time coming. So thank you to the board for their hard work and the community with the referendum on that. So a couple things that we did over the last couple of years is continuing to build those relationships and connections, changing and pivoting with communication, doing staff giveaways and celebrations, increasing the initial teacher compensation from $40,000 to $44,000 over 4 years, implementing a master's degree recognition, of which 9 teachers in the last 2 years were able to benefit from. So compensation will continue to be under review and is constantly monitored as well, but that was a huge celebration this last year.
So Ellie, if a teacher does move from a bachelor's to a master's degree, is that raise right then? Or do they have to wait for?
So as long as it's by August 31st, they get that for that year. Mm-hmm. But most they're finishing, I would say most are on the May plan,
Spring,
so
yeah.
that would be. All right, and then finally, again, continuing envisioning our future work to get feedback from staff, leadership, board, and community, along with the staff surveys to gain input from various stakeholders. So we also don't want to lose sight of what's going well right now. So when we look at our survey and the areas that we're excelling, 2 of which in particular are technology and safety. People feel safe at work and they feel that they have the technology resources they need. So again, we're not going to stop doing those things because those are things that we're excelling at and staff are recognizing. So with Raptor and with our iPad integration, again, we'll continue working on those things from a retention standpoint. Any questions?
I'm just gonna, the obvious controllables are discipline and giving growth opportunities, those are the controllables, and I think we've addressed some of the behaviors last week or last month at the workshop, correct? So
Correct.
have we started to see the incoming referrals or incident reports? Has that started to show itself that we talked about at
Curtis
the
is
workshop?
smiling.
Is that,
I mean,
I know it's only been 3
they're in the
weeks.
process of implementing,
Right.
so we're in our first 100 days of that. We're going to spend some time on September 27th of digging into EduClimber with all of our staff with the behaviors. I think we did share with you though, we did expect to see an increase and
I
we,
understand.
I mean, just because it's more of an awareness, it's more of being more detailed and you know, whether it's minors or majors, clarifying that, so.
That's obviously 40% of our controllables, so we have to go after them, so.
I just want to say I was one of those people who put a lot of pressure on this topic in the last year, and I'm happy to see the changes you guys have made and the conversations we've had, and some vulnerability around tough topics where you guys are like, it's fine, and I'm like, but it's not. And I think you guys have done a good job making some pretty big changes and having tough conversations with each other and with the board. I know it hasn't been easy, but we saw the turnover numbers come down this year. Obviously, even more. So I think there's good stuff going on in these topics. And the board is accessible. If there's staff out there, our emails are public, right? You guys can email us. And if you really want us to see a comment and you don't want us to know who you are, there's ways to do that too. So I think that we've made a lot of progress on this topic. It got a little heated tonight, but I don't want to take away from what you guys have done in the past year, because I think it's pretty remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ally.
All right, then we are on to our second citizens forum. Is there anybody who would like to speak?
Sorry, Amy
All right.
Shores, W598 Alpha Park. With the safety weeks coming up, I haven't looked at the website, so maybe this is already answered, but if there isn't already a plan, can you please send out a text or email alert on those days that they're like locked down so we can decompress with our kids after that? Heidi, why don't you ask about medical personnel on field trips anymore?
They fill it out.
It's in there.
They know to fill it out
Oh,
ahead of
okay,
time. I don't
okay.
need to.
That makes me feel better. And after what just happened as a parent, I made comments on my survey thinking that the board needed to see them. And just a few weeks into school, I don't feel that the board needs to see them because all of my comments personally have made huge changes already I've seen in this district. So the things that I can't speak for everybody, but what I was personally concerned about, I'm already seeing big changes. So I don't think you need to see them.
All right, thank you.
Is Valerie still here? I'm gonna put her on the spot
Okay.
because I think it's time that we also celebrate our students. And so, because we have a state FFA officer, Taylor Marashik, who was elected in June, Pulaski gets to host several things. And so we have a big event coming up Monday night where you're gonna see lots of blue and gold jackets and some other responsibilities. So I don't know if you wanna share anything about, you know, because of that state FFA officer, what that means for our district.
Yeah, so because we have state FFA officer, Taylor gets to travel the state this year with 10 other teammates. And so we get to host our fall leadership workshop here in Pulaski, which we haven't gotten official numbers, but probably about 400 FFA members from this area will be doing some leadership workshops that state FFA officers put on. They do a little skit and there's some speeches and things like that, but it's an awesome night for all of our FFA officer teams have to get together and learn for the state FFA officers what each of their roles in their team looks like. What does a treasurer do? What does a secretary do? And all of those types of things. And they do a really great job. So it's an awesome night. We're excited to host it. And then with Taylor being a state FFA officer, we also get to host in the spring our sectional leadership development event, which will be have the second level for what used to be speaking contests. So things like prepared speaking, parliamentary procedure teams, creed speakers, there's some middle school events, so we'll get to host that in the spring as well.
So they may be looking for judges, which you can volunteer to do because they always need them. But if you have a chance to stop by Monday night, I don't think you will see a more fired up, energetic group of kids who are future leaders. I made Allie go with me down to State FFA convention, and she was like, there's this many people in here, it's just amazing. So I encourage you, if you have time to stop by,
The high school.
to see the
And
energy.
what are the
that
details of the
happens.
event? Monday?
Monday will start at 3:30 is when registration starts. 4 o'clock will be in the auditorium, and they'll do the opening session. Taylor will give her speech then, and then kids will go out to the different workshops that will be held kind of the lower level of the high school. And then there's 3 rotations of workshops, all put on by state FFA officers, and then closing session probably 6:30-ish, 6:30, 7 o'clock, back in the auditorium.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
So Ben Shepherd, Slingerman Circle, Smeski. So I just want to say that, leading up to the survey, a good number of you promoted that. A good number of you talked to a number of people in this room tonight and had a strong desire to not only see, but receive the comments. So I'm very disappointed that a couple of you kind of flipped your stance on that.
Thanks. Anybody else? Yes.
Donna Severson, 362 Cross Point Court. I just have a comment on that issue as well, and that is that, one of the real strengths is having a diverse board and different opinions, different perceptions. And I understand that with this survey, everything was filtered through people who, the experts, the people who have experience at it. But sometimes getting fresh eyes on an old problem can really be helpful. And each one of you as board members have fresh eyes. So that's the one thing I would say is, if it isn't going to cause harm to look at the comments, something might come out because of your experience that's different than coming through a filter of all of the experts that might make sense. It might all of a sudden show something that maybe they've missed simply because of the, and I don't want to say they have blinders on, but sometimes because of what you do, you look for the same things all the time, where the fresh eyes looking at it might have some advantage. So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, next workshop meeting will be October 2nd out at Hillcrest. We're coming to see you.
Perfect.
All right, and that we don't have much on the agenda for that yet, so we'll talk more about that as we get closer.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Have a good night, everybody.